marriage and relationships are the foundation of civilization, then if people are inherently selfish in those relationships, that's going to have a knock-on effect.
What is a love legacy?
Good question.
We're going to explore this question and more in today's T&J podcast.
In this podcast, all about couples, culture and chat, we're featuring a look at the reality TV romance shows that have raps like Married at First Sight and Blue Therapy, Love Goals or Love Knows.
A tribute to Matthew Perry, Chandler Bing on Friends and the character's love journey.
And the big topic inspired by Tia Mowry, evolve or die within your relationships or go solo.
Let's chat.
Welcome to T&J Take Over the World, taking over the world of couples, culture and chat, one episode at a time.
Hey,
got the
welcome.
moves.
Yeah, it's good to be back, isn't it?
It's good to be back.
Always good to be back in the studio.
Have you missed us? We've missed each other, haven't we?
We've missed each
Missed
other.
each other,
We
yeah.
live with each other.
Well,
I don't have time to miss you, do I?
That can be busy, isn't it? You can still be busy. Even living with each other. Doesn't make much difference. Yeah, so it's been interesting, isn't it? So
Yeah, it has been an
time-
interesting one, actually. I have recently seen a shopping list. Yeah, an interesting shopping list.
a literal shopping list.
No, not a
What,
literal.
Tesco's and Sainsbury's?
No, it's a different type of shopping list.
Okay.
A shopping list tied to dating.
Tied to date, a shopping
Yeah.
list.
Well-
What, I want a 5 foot 10, 11, was it? Oh, no, 6 foot.
No, it's
guys.
more to do with
What?
where women would like not to go on a first date.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was literally like a list of places such as Cheesecake Factory, In-N-Out, bowling, church.
Hang on.
A lot of the
women
list
have
is crazy.
made a list
Yeah,
of where they want to go.
where they don't want to go.
Don't want to go.
Yeah,
Shouldn't it be all the effort should be on where they want to go and saying like, oh, take me to here, take me to
Yeah.
there. It's a bit ungrateful, though,
I
isn't it?
know. A lot of them too. You should see them. It's
ungrateful.
just crazy.
Well, go on. What's some of these places?
Well, there's In-N-Out,
Oh, like in America, In-N-Out Burger.
Cheesecake Factory,
Yeah.
church.
Okay.
One was bowling.
Well, really, when you go to church, it should be about you and God, really, isn't it? Not
I
about
know.
checking out your boo.
Even
your
one
boo
was
thing.
even one was a cinema.
Cinema. Really?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the cinema is not the greatest place to go for a first date, is it?
Well,
Because
I'd
you
be
can't
annoyed.
speak.
Yeah, I'd be annoyed if you were
can't.
chatting to me. In fact, I remember when we early years,
Did I?
you keep on talking. I was like,
What, on
I'm
the first
watching the movie. I'm watching Transformers
chat?
20.
I thought I hardly talked anyway.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but when it was watching a movie, all of
Right,
a sudden
okay.
you were talking
right.
Olympics.
Oh no,
Yeah.
that's not good at all,
Oh,
is
wow.
it?
It's not so
Oh well.
interesting, this list of I can't go.
Yeah,
So,
it's like modern women now just don't want to go to these places. It's just too
wow.
good for them.
wow.
Yeah.
Was there like a kind of a price barrier, like a cash, like a minimum spend?
No,
involved
it's
or
just
something?
the person that want to go there. There was actually a lady that there was a video that came out, it went viral,
Yeah.
and the lady was seeing like the man was about to. He just drove up to Cheesecake Factory,
Yeah.
and she's like, "I ain't going in there. Is this
Oh,
where you bought
wow.
it for my date? No, I ain't going in there.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to go in Cheesecake Factory." And she wouldn't get out of the car. So you have to drive her all the way back home.
Oh, dear. Okay.
And then the story.
I know, go for what you want and have your standards, but that just seems a little bit
Yeah.
like the guy's going to have to rob a bank
Absolutely.
to take you out because you want to be going to like the Shard and you go, or like, you know, the Ritz. Minimum spend
Oh my gosh.
$5,000 all in. All inclusive.
You know.
So what do I get for out of it? Oh, wow.
Well,
Okay, so
yeah, we've got to move on. My goodness, time has gone
Time is-
so quick.
time is spending.
Yeah, well, we've been watching a lot of.
Oh,
What now? What's going
I
on?
mean, before we get to
Oh,
that, there's a certain thing I've got to get off my chest.
gosh.
I've got to get some bee off my bonnet. I've got to vent.
Oh.
You know what time it is. Oh, got to take this off a little bit. Put this on.
Oh.
I'll do this bit. And I can go like that. King for a day. Yes, it's that time where I put the world to rights on an epic rant from Your Majesty. If I was king for a day, this is how the world would be. You know, no, I know there's world hunger, there's poverty, there's wars and all that, but we're a light-hearted show, so we're not going to go there. What I will change in the world, something that's been on my mind. It's interesting because in England, we had the King's speech, didn't we? We had King Charles doing his first speech as the monarch. But move aside, Charlie boy. I heard it's quite boring anyway.
Oh, is it?
Sorry, Your Majesty, King Charles, all respect. He's a real king. I'm a pretender to the throne. But this speech is far more important than vaping and all that jazz that King Charles talked about. This is about reality TV.
Oh.
And I want to simply say, producers, stop manipulating. You're manipulating your contestants, your participants, and you're manipulating us, the audience. You're taking us for fools, but no more. I am banning producers from manipulating and being puppet masters. Essentially, from these reality TV shows, whether it be Love Island, Married at First Sight, Blue Therapy, Not Two Can Play a Game, whatever the show may be, Love at First Sight, and other types of Big Brother, every other type of reality TV show. We've all known and suspected for a long time it's scripted. Well, not scripted, but producers meddle and manipulate. Yeah, they do. It's not real life TV. There was a day when you either had soaps and dramas, or every now and again you'd have documentaries. Then someone had this bright idea to smish them all together. And there we had the invention of reality TV. And it's interesting. I've got a theory that these shows, these reality shows, were sparked by a movie, one of my, I wouldn't say favourites, but a movie I really love, by rubber-faced person himself, Jim Carrey, called The Truman Show. In that movie, it's a guy who suddenly always suspected something wasn't quite right, like he felt like he was being watched, like his life was being observed and things would just coincidentally happen. Turns out that he was adopted as a baby by a TV studio. Yeah. And he grew up thinking it was his real life, but everyone was actors. Even his parents, his love interest, everyone was actors. If you ain't seen the movie, check it out. I don't think I've spoiled it, not completely. But that, I think, got everyone paranoid. The Matrix came out soon after with questioning reality. Ooh, what is reality? And university students everywhere talking about existentialism. And am I here? Are you real? Is this real? Is this video you're watching right real? I know it can blow your mind. But in all of that, everyone was questioning reality, but then TV executives somewhere thought, I've got an idea. What if we make some really cheap TV, forget budgets, forget drama, forget actors, we'll just film people in a house. And The Real World was born. Yep, even before Big Brother, there was an American show called The Real World that just followed people doing their thing in a house. Then Big Brother came along and that was a game changer. Now, even relationships are not off limits. People fall in love, The Bachelor on air, fall in love on air. People fall in love on an island and hook up. And now people even get married on TV for a period of time to try it out. The problem with this is that what is real and what is fake? If even getting married is for reality TV is your thing, then does that question reality itself? The issue with producers is that I think they're like Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, creating a monster. They manipulate the situation, they set things up for effect, and they're playing with people's lives. Whispering in this one's ear, whispering in that one's ear, say that, do this crazy stunt, break that person's heart right now because the camera's rolling, and 3, 2, 1, action. Waterworks, heartbroken, right on cue. Now, that might make a great 5 minutes of TV, but then that person has to live outside of the bubble with being humiliated in front of millions. People can watch that again and again and again on replay, rewind, playing it again. One day, little Johnny or little Juliet is going to be like, Mum, Dad, was that you on that show kissing that random stranger, creeping out of their bed, or that person making you look like a fool right there and then? Yes, dear. Now go and eat your cereal. So, for me, if it was up to me, I would say, throw the scripts away, let the cameras roll, but let things happen organically on screen. Let it be authentic. Because you know what? Real life is often stranger than fiction. Oh yes, some things in life you just simply couldn't make up. But when you do make it up, it's obvious for all to see. We can see you setting up pairing people that should never be paired on a marriage show. Someone asks for someone who was quiet and lovely. You give them a bridezilla or a groom from the Dark Lagoon. It doesn't make sense when you really check it. It might be funny, it might be entertaining, but you're thinking, hang on, if this is supposed to be a real experiment, why then can we see the strings on the puppet? Why then do we see the manipulation behind the scenes on screen? Why is it obvious that situation was set up? When the couple have to have their confrontation, why is it conveniently in a restaurant with other people who are probably extras and the cameras are there? Surely it would be more believable, because we're not idiots, that you just put a little spy camera somewhere and just let things happen and let the good times roll. Get the popcorn, bing, bang, bosh. So producers, you got to do a better job. You got to step it up. You're going to stop treating your participants like they're dispensable and like they're real people with feelings who are going to live a life after the 5 minutes of fame. And you've got to stop treating us, the audience, like we're idiots, that we can't distinguish between scripted soap opera and real life. Yeah, real life can be boring sometimes. It can need a little bit of va-va-vum. But when it comes to these type of shows, relationships, we want to be able to see people have a win. And if they have an L, they lose. Let it be because it was a real life situation rather than manufactured drama that might give us a popcorn moment but can ruin lives and set a bad message for everyone to come. Got a bit serious there. So, producers, I'm coming for your jobs. Stop messing about. These are lives, damn it. These are lives, not pawns. Bit like Truman now, isn't it? Escaping, get on a yacht. I want to leave this world, see the real world. Oh, I could go on all down this one.
Calm down.
And scene. Okay. Where's my Oscar? I'd like to thank... Anyway.
We're always watching TV lately. Sitting on the couch, getting cozy and comfortable next to each other.
Oh, that sounds romantic.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've been watching a lot of reality TV shows lately. We've been watching Married at First Sight, Blue Therapy, and it's really given me an insight of relationship 101.
Okay.
Literally
masterclass of relationships.
Yeah. Relationship 101 by Jay. You know, it's really given me an insight of how modern relationships are working.
Or not working.
Or not working, should I say.
To be
but
precise.
It's really given me and you an insight, isn't it? Like how these things are not working and are working. But it's like there's some failed things, there's some failed relationships, people walking out, arguments, communication problems. It's just
not good, is it?
all over the place. I mean, Married at First Sight, can you imagine going into a show like that and getting married to a stranger?
No.
Someone you don't know the family, you've met the family for the first time.
Yeah.
On your wedding day to the stranger. And it's like the family might like you, they may not like you, you don't know each other. Yeah. It's literally upside down, the other way around, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the upside down. It's the strangest things.
It's not normally, it doesn't work like that. I couldn't do that. To go in the show and marry someone I do not know, don't know their family, don't know nothing about them.
Yeah, 'cause I think even arranged marriages, I think the families know each other. You know, like in India or in other parts of the world, they at least there's a knowledge there. So, okay, so really, I guess it's about our observations, thoughts, isn't it? About what we've watched, what we think. I mean, you go first. After you, what's your initial thoughts about these reality TV relationship shows we've been watching? We've been binging.
Yeah, I think binging is the word, isn't it?
The binge.
Yeah, I think my overview thoughts is that these shows, is it going to last?
What, the show or the relationship?
No, not the relationship. Is it going to last? Is it going to last a lifetime for years to come? Because for me, it's like going into a show like that, you get married to a stranger first and foremost. You get to know you're trying to get to know the family. It's not like you you've met the family, met the family for the first time, but you hardly seen them, and you don't really know them. So it's like I'm thinking, is that going to work? Like also as well, usually you start off as maybe friends before you get married to the person. You build, well, that's how a relationship should start, right? You should build as a friend. But these days, modern relationships don't tend to start like that. You just want to jump into it straight away.
But we'll get to the deep stuff, but just your thoughts and stuff of what were, I mean, my thoughts about the show has been very entertaining in places, but I can kind of see the strings, you know, I can see where it's being manipulated. Like I said in the
producers.
You are great ideas
The producers.
for a day. I can see the producers. I'm like,
their hands
it's
on
almost
it.
like you're standing in shot, you know, like an amateur filming where you can see the grip slightly, the sound guy slightly in the shot. Like, no, move out the way, move out the way. I can kind of feel the production all over it where I'm like, okay, was this set up? Was this part manufactured? And that kind of takes me out of the show because what I'm really interested in, true human stories and true human connections. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So in some ways, if I want to see drama, I can watch an actual like movie or a soap or something, a streaming show.
Yeah, but that makes it more interesting, doesn't it? When like it's like how you said, because you said it draws you out. It draws me in, actually.
Yeah.
Even more, because if it was just like, say for instance, when it was a couple called Bradley and I can't remember his wife's name. Shona, that's it. Because they've left such a long time ago.
Such a long time.
That was crazy. You're thinking all the things he was saying was like really horrible to her, and then because she's so soft, she was so infatuated by him. But it's like, is that some of the producers thing? He even said there was a video afterwards. He said that he's not really like that, so he didn't paint a very positive picture of him.
And I don't think he said very horrible things. I think he could come a little bit, being maybe a little bit controlly, but then he's a sort of strong kind of character. And she was like doe-eyed and, whatever you say, Brad. So I think that I would say if the producers were the ones matching them, they obviously, the experts, they obviously made a mistake. But I think they didn't make a mistake on one hand because it made very interesting TV. Listen, the one thing about TV, you don't want people to be indifferent.
Yeah.
Love and hate are very powerful emotions. So if you can operate in either of those energies, you're going to get viewers. Yeah. You're going to get interaction. You're going to get people, oh, I hate this one. Oh, I love this one. So it's a win-win for the TV show and the executives.
But the thing about when you said about mistake, you said something about it's not actually a mistake because at the beginning of Married at First Sight, every individual is interviewed. And so that's how they're able to match them. So obviously someone like JJ said, you know, he wants to come away from his normal type. Yeah. Then he jumped back and went to his usual type. He wanted to find someone new. But
it's also the same like with In Love and Toxic Blue Therapy, another show we've been watching, where it's not a competition. It's not something like Maths where people are set up by the TV. Apparently it's real couples who come on the show to see a therapist. So then I think we have to take as we see it that they are genuine real couples and not staged. But obviously they do the format is like a diary thing where they talk about the situation, obviously filmed afterwards, but interspliced with the real therapy. That's fine. It's a story framing device. But then some of the situations, you know, when you see them outside of the therapy and they're seeing their friends and having a conversation or an argument, it feels so staged, so fake that it just makes me question the reality of everything else. I think it's like Tower, you know, The Only Way is Essex.
All right, yeah.
They call it scripted reality. So there's stuff that is real, but then they pull you to one side and say, can you just say this or can you just do that? Which just gives it that kind of flavor. But anyway, that's a long setup for what we're really talking about. The meat of this is the common themes.
Yeah, one of the common themes we came across was that there is a lot of people thinking about themselves.
Okay.
Me, myself, and I.
Yep.
Yeah. And that in a relationship, that doesn't go down too well.
Doesn't.
Because if you want to be an individual, right, it's best to just stay single.
Stay by yourself. Stay
When
single.
you're with someone in a relationship, the person you relate to, that's what relationship is, right?
True.
You have to stop. You have to come away from that.
Say that again. What does relationship mean?
Someone that you can relate to.
Relate to. Who knew?
Relatable. I don't know. For the people who probably don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I was saying, is that I saw that so much in Married at First Sight,
Yeah.
where the couples, especially some of the women, were being like it was all about them.
Yeah.
Some in Blue Therapy as well, where they wasn't thinking about the man, the guy. I'm thinking, okay, me individual, what can I get? Me.
Yeah.
But
It felt
then
like a transaction.
because relationships supposed to be reciprocal, supposed to be, right?
Supposed to be.
But in these programs and also in this modern society, doesn't seem to be like that anymore. Whereas before it was more kind of, okay, what can I do for you? You do for me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I think, I mean, it definitely was very much, what have you done for me? Like, what can you do for me? Everyone had this very neat idea of what they expect someone to be. Like a relationship, a partner is about a list and about expectations and what this person can do for me.
Yeah.
That ain't real life. You know what I mean? That ain't real life. Someone's existence isn't to make you happy.
No.
And there was a lot of that. So a lot of people were like, oh, I've got the ick. Even like with Love Island, there's an initial spark.
Yeah.
But I think people have been led to believe that a relationship is about one continuous spark. Where actually it's like, you know, sometimes on bonfire, fireworks, where it starts off with a bang, then it goes all quiet. It shoots up in the air, it's quiet. All of a sudden, bang!
Yeah.
And then it go quiet again. And another one, bang, bang! Just when you think it's all that, bang, 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 bang. That's a relationship to me. That it can start off with a bang, then it goes quiet for a bit. And initially we were like, does that mean our relationship is done? Because all of a sudden the energy in that bang went quiet and it was like, oh.
And especially as well, I find that relationships these days, which I think I did say a little bit earlier in the show, was that people don't tend to start out as friends as much. Like we started out as friends and then you build on that. You hang out with each other and then all of a sudden, oh, I love you or I like you, I'm into you. You know, and you build on that. But these days, people like to boom, like straight away. They just want something. Because if they don't have the spark, then it's nothing. How would you know if you don't allow it to grow?
Well, also because they're not looking to fall in love with a person.
Yeah.
They're looking for what that person makes them feel. And that leads to one of the big common themes amongst these shows was unrealistic expectations. People wanted someone very outgoing, but don't outshine me.
Yeah.
Very good looking, but not too much that people are tempted by them. Someone who's very knows what they want, but will do whatever I want. It's like, which is it? It's like, what do you want? You know, what do you want, man? What do you want, woman? So I think there was an element of people not approaching relationships as something where it's two people serving each other, loving each other, going on a journey together. It was more, this is what I want. Can you tick the boxes?
Yeah.
And I think inevitably, even the experts apparently match people. But you mentioned someone like Jay and Ella.
Oh, yeah.
And Jay obviously had a type. He liked women who were almost like caricatures, you know, the big breasts, like, you know, LA models. He's been out with models. And he said he wanted something different. So they chose a wife for him, Bianca, who wasn't unattractive, but wasn't someone whose main assets was being like sexual or being overly attractive, overly, you know, eye candy. And the irony is he ends up with Ella. And I think with Ella, who, you know, the first transsexual contestant, that's Ella's thing, that's Ella's story, that's a journey, fair enough. But the issue I found is that really it didn't make sense for JJ's decisions because number one, he went for what he said he wanted to avoid. And number two, he went for someone who I felt was quite desperately miserable and toxic because Ella didn't care about stealing someone. This is someone who was paired up with somebody else in a marriage. They were both paired with somebody else, but they started flirting and essentially torpedoed their relationships to get with each other. but there's trouble in paradise, as they say. But anyway, so for me, that's a big issue, is the
Unexpected
expectations.
Yep.
Another thing I think is there's so many people single in their 30s.
There is actually, because I've actually directly spoken to people in their 30s lately.
Yeah.
And number one, a lot of them live at home still.
Really?
Yeah. So they're from like between 32 and 34. I can't imagine living at home at that age, but cost of living is keeping them.
Well, yeah, I can imagine now.
High. And obviously, if you're a single person,
Price of a pint of milk.
and you're not with someone to rent somewhere, depends what your income is, it's going to be very hard, especially in somewhere called London where we live.
Yeah.
But it's pretty crazy because people, they ain't got no kids, they're not married. So I'm thinking to myself, talking to these people, so when is that going to happen? When are they going to settle down? Because obviously I settled down really early and had kids. So for me, I can only kind of understand it.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. It's pretty crazy.
I can't imagine being in my 30s now and now choosing a partner, because we grew together, because we were in our late teens when we got together and early 20s when we got married. There was a sense of we've grown and fused together.
Absolutely.
So we've kind of been more tolerant of each other's differences. We've kind of evolved together, which is something we're going to talk about a little bit later, the whole evolution thing. So I feel like now people want the finished product. People don't want a fixer-upper.
They don't want to grow. They don't want to grow with someone, because I guess by the time you're in your 30s, right, you're going to probably, some people may have somewhere to live on their own. They might have a lucrative income, especially these days now. They might have that, so they're all set up and everything, their way of life, they like to travel and do that. All of a sudden, boom, someone comes in their space. They're like, so how do I now go about this, sharing my life with someone else?
Compromise is tough, isn't it?
Some people, they probably are just happy just to be like on their own, single, because they don't want that to be, they have a way that they want to live their life. Do you know what I mean? And for someone, especially if you want to get married, settle down, have kids, then that's going to change everything. Yeah. It's having a family is very different to being single. You know, you have to compromise all those things and share your values. Obviously, share values are important, all those things, but it's a big thing. So the longer you're single for on your own, it would be harder. The harder it's going to be, because that's not what you've done your own thing. You've been the king of your own castle, the queen of your own castle. Now you got to share that castle. It's like people that, I ain't got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. I ain't got time for that at all. No. Well, speaking of time, I think there are lessons we can learn. We're going to do a video. I think we're going to do a video where we're going to talk all about what we've learned watching these reality TV couples crash and burn. Well, not all of them, but most of them. And what we think, more importantly, for you listening, watching, whichever, what we feel would be good lessons to pass on. So we're going to mix the lessons we've watched from these shows, some of our observations, mix it up with our own over 20 years together of relationship, and compare and contrast and say, okay, is there any value that you can get from these shows, or is it just literally entertainment, bit of popcorn, drink, bit of laughter, some tears, like you're in the theatre or watching something in the cinema? So that's going to look out for that, a video we're going to do where we make the case, I think, for and against reality TV relationship shows. But so we had so much fun binging on all those shows, Blue Therapy and Married at First Sight. Now that's pretty much ended. Look out for a video coming where we make the case for and against. Yeah, that'll be fun. For it should be fun. Swiftly moving on. We are fans of the 90s show Friends. We love watching Friends growing up as well, didn't you? Yeah. But recently, we heard of the passing of Matthew Perry, who sadly died, who played Chandler Bing. And he was one of my favourite characters in Friends. But as we're going to give a tribute, we're not going to dwell on that, but we're going to go into some, we're going to delve into more of the character of Chandler Bing and how he was on Friends. Yeah, I think the best way to tribute Matthew Perry, other than the great work he did for those suffering with addiction, as we know, that's the legacy he preferred to be known as. But because this is like a relationship and culture podcast,
we are going to focus on, I think, the positive contribution that Matthew Perry gave via Friends to singletons everywhere, people in their 20s and 30s, and even to this day. Remember, the show ended in 2004, you know?
Yeah, I remember when it ended. I watched the last one.
And the fact that we're one shy short of the show's 30th anniversary.
I don't know how that time's gone so quick.
I know, it's crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, I think it was sad hearing about the passing of Matthew Perry. I think it hit quite hard. And I think especially because we were already planning to do a show, a video about Friends and its impact on relationships. Because anyone like us who were teenagers in the 90s, we knew the impact of Friends as a huge show, but also the impact it had on single people and describing the highs and lows for looking for love in a comedic way, the frustrations. And no one was more frustrated in his love life than the character Chandler Bing.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe Ross a little bit, but Chandler, he was just like, he was the sarky one. He was the one who was constantly seeing things half glass empty. So it was a massive shock and surprise when he ended up with Monica, and they ended up being the stable ones, the ones, you know, the first to get married, you know, having kids, you know, so it's kind of. But yeah, some of your early memories of Friends.
I grew up watching Friends. I remember even when I had our first daughter, she even loved Friends as well.
Not when you were growing up.
No, not when I was growing up.
Yeah,
that'd
be weird.
Yeah, that'd be strange.
It's a weird transition.
She was even into Friends.
When I was growing up watching Friends and my daughter was there, it's like,
That was crazy. But yeah, she was even into Friends. And I don't know anyone that wasn't actually into Friends, because Friends really had an impact in society and in popular culture, because it just shows how them as friends bonded as well. And also the relationships that with Ross and, you know, Rachel and Chandler and Monica was a special one. I remember reading the other day that apparently they were actually going to give Chandler a storyline of him cheating.
Oh no.
But because he had such an impact, he actually worked with the producers on set, and he would have an input as well, what went out,
because he's a very comedic genius.
And then he said, no, take it out. So
it's interesting. We'll touch on that. But when you mentioned everyone loved Friends, there was a bit of controversy because they're based in New York, and I've been to New York once a long time ago, but last I checked, and most who checked, people weren't all white in Friends. Like everyone in the ecosystem of the Friends was white. Ross did have a black girlfriend for 5 minutes. And I think so some people complained. I wasn't that hooked up in that. I wasn't totally, oh no, I can't watch Friends because there's not enough black people in it. But I need to put that out there, particularly now in 2023, Friends is still on constant rotation. So it does come up. And I think people forget that it was set mainly in the 90s. Yeah, so the world was quite different. We weren't as maybe progressive as people like to think. I don't think we're that progressive even then or now, but we're not as progressive. So things weren't as politically correct. So there was difference. But anyway, back to that Chandler storyline. I'm so grateful they didn't do that, because
that's crazy.
The whole idea, the whole notion with Friends is that they were likable. And it's quite difficult if you know one of your main characters is cheating, because that's hard to be funny, because especially because he's cheating with somebody else, a main character that you have affection for. How do you come back from that?
Yeah, because I'm just happy actually that they decided to not do that storyline, because I just think that maybe people would have started to see Chandler in a different way.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Because he was apparent to a lot of he was one of my favorites actually, and I think a lot of people's favorites. Character out of all the Friends. You know, between him and Joey or something. It's quite funny.
And they were best friends.
They were still good friends till the end of his life. Do you know what I mean? So I think it was important that he just had that with him and Monica having such a great relationship. Obviously starting out as friends as all they would. And then they're building on that and they got together. So it was good that.
Well, it's important to mark the journey. And again, I think this is a deep dive we have to go and do again sometime, is that with Chandler, he started off being the one who never really, his relationships never worked out. He was constantly, he had that one recurring relationship with Janice, like,
it's annoying.
the character Janice.
Oh.
Chandler. I'm trying to do a bad impression of her.
It's not bad.
She had an awful laugh.
Not bad.
And the running joke was that she really had the hots for him. And it was a relationship of convenience, that he didn't like her. He didn't really have any feeling for her, but she was like a crutch he could go back to while everybody else was hooked up and he had no one.
Yeah.
So sometimes he'd have an on and off situation with Janice. And the comedy was, even when he was with her, he couldn't stand her.
Oh.
And how many times do you get
you don't
that
wanna see
people
that.
who would rather be with someone than by themselves,
Dear.
even though they can't
Wow.
stand the person they're with? I've never got that when people say, "Oh, they're," and you know, you probably have had girlfriends that say, "Oh, he's this, he's that," and I'm like, "Why are you
Slagging
with
off.
him?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
leave him, dump his ass. Why are you with him?"
Mm.
Every
Oh,
time
that's
you're
not good.
complaining how much you don't like him or her, why are you with the person?
Yeah, that's not really. I think them two being together was always so cringe.
Yeah.
Because Janice was annoying as well. The girl. I think for me,
A
because she
laugh
just goes
alone,
on
man.
and on and on and on, and no man wants that. No man wants his woman just going on and on
Nah,
at him.
nah.
I mean, so I think for me, him and Monica was like the perfect couple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Eventually got married and everything. So it was just so nice for them to build as friends and then eventually get together.
Well, it's funny
You know?
because there was a lot of people that didn't want the friends to hook up.
Mm.
Because it would take away from the friendship. But that's how relationships, I think, should be. It should start off that you are friends first, rather than just lust.
Exactly.
Because then you've got a good foundation, like you're
Absolutely.
always saying, good
Yeah.
foundation to build on.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a lot of values in that regard. I think with Chandler, because he had a rough background, the character, he's dad, who had an interesting life, I think, in showbiz. You always got that sense that he didn't fully accept himself.
Mm.
And Monica, I think, was the first person that truly accepted him and helped him accept himself.
Yeah, because I think Monica helped him, like in a lot of ways, like helped him to, as you said, understand himself. But I think he became a better man because of her.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He became stronger, he became wiser, became a bit less silly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because obviously she was silly as well, Monica. She was
Yeah,
one
there
of
are silly moments.
Yeah, silly moments.
neurotic.
But they're definitely suited. I can't imagine.
They're a great double act.
Yeah,
Like us.
I can't imagine Chandler with Phoebe or something. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't. Nah,
No.
those two together just won't go. Because Phoebe is so dipsy as well.
No, she's sharp. That's the thing. She's away with the fairies, but she's very sharp.
Yeah.
She would call out. Phoebe was always calling out the guys on their nonsense.
Yeah.
So I think for so many people in singles in their 20s and 30s throughout the 90s, early 2000s, and now the 2020s, because the show has never stopped airing, there's definitely a sense of people relating to having a group of friends, struggling financially. That's why they all live together, because New York is expensive then and now.
Absolutely.
And going through kissing a lot of frogs and tossing them back in the water. And I think the core relationships, obviously, were friendships.
Yeah, most definitely.
The core relationships were friendships.
Yeah.
And all the romantic ones on top were like the icing.
Mm.
And I think that's something that's the biggest contribution I think that Friends made, is that everyone wished they had a central perk. They could sit on that sofa, you know, with their 4 other friends, 6 of them, their 5 other friends, going through life together. I'll be there for you when the rain starts to pour, because let's face it, relationships are over in 5 minutes. But friendships, I guess there's a sense of unconditional love.
Yeah. It can last forever, because I remember watching Friends when I was growing up, and I wish that I had that, in terms of like sharing with other few people in an apartment.
Yeah.
And I never had that. And I was like, oh
man.
So let me watch it and just like live it out. And they really did teach, I think, Friends for me who's in Chandler Bing, the late Matthew Perry, really taught, I think would really teach people how to be good friends and have strong bonds.
Yeah.
You know, because I think friendships, obviously friendships come from all your walks of life. Some friendships stay, some friendships go. Do you know what I mean? There's sometimes it's circumstantial, but their one just continued and off camera after the show. They all were friends. They had that reunion 2 years ago.
And it's interesting because Matthew Perry didn't look too great. Everyone's thinking, why does he look not too great? Apparently he had, he had addiction issues, but it wasn't that. I think he had dental work and he was drowsy. But because everyone knows of Matthew Perry's struggle with alcohol and some drugs, you know, that people feared the worst because people loved the guy. People held him in such high esteem, with such affection, because even though that's not what Matthew Perry wants his legacy to be as Chandler, unfortunately, we don't always choose everything that people remember us by. He brought so much laughter, so much love and joy in people's lives as a result of that show. And he meant a lot to so many people. And that time in history meant a lot. And I think what I love about Chandler is that he, as a character, he was the realist. He was the first to make a one-liner, a sarcastic comment. But I think, so he wasn't the one who was so away in his own fantasy like some of the characters or had lack of self-awareness. And I think to see that guy who was the cynic, that guy who didn't believe in the fairy tales and happy endings, he wasn't the hopeless romantic. That guy ends up married with children, moving away from the apartment. I think that gives hope to a lot of singletons who know this is real life. They know this isn't an episode of Friends. We know that life is difficult. But even in that fake sitcom, that dude was able to evolve and have a happy ending, I think is great. And it does make you think. We'll have to have another chat about this because you could talk so much about this. It does make you think about legacy.
It does, absolutely. And I think for me, Friends just came alive for me. Whenever I watch a episode of Friends, it's like I felt that I was their friend too, because the way they were on camera together and everything, and the way they evolved as well. All that evolving and growing and changing from the first episode to the last episode, you can see how they had all come together as one, and they stuck by each other's side with thick and thin. And that's real friendship.
Well, legacy-wise, Matthew Perry helped a lot of people with addiction. He was known for setting up homes for addicts, offering his own home, offering his time to help people turn from that dark place. And he actually wishes that is what his lasting remaining legacy is. I think it can be both. We can remember Matthew Perry for that work in literally helping people with sobriety to be sober, and for his humongous comedic talent that a whole generation and generations are laughing and learning about what it is to go on that love journey as Chandler Bing did, which had an happy ending. The least expected friend to have that happy ending had his happy ending. So he got to evolve. So Matthew Perry, rest in peace. I'm wearing a Batman t-shirt because apparently Batman was Matthew Perry's favorite character.
Yeah, it was actually. Apparently, I think he wanted to make something regarding Batman, or a film or something, or do something regarding Batman. Maybe he might have been the next director of Batman.
Can you imagine that?
Writer, screenwriter.
I can't imagine Matthew Perry as Batman.
Oh, no. I wasn't suggesting that.
Chandler Bing is Bruce Wayne.
But I think the thing is, if he wrote the next Batman movie,
it'd be a comedy.
It'd be quite comical.
Couldn't be as funny as Batman and Robin. That was funny for all the wrong reasons. You're not sending me to the cooler.
Do not watch that movie. It's so bad.
Oh, Arnie, that paycheck must have been sweet. That's what I'm saying.
We want to throw it over to you. If you've got any comments or you've got any video suggestions you'd like us to make, send it over to us and we can put that together for you. Wow. Okay. So we are now going to go over to our big story.
Big topic.
Big topic alert.
Cue big topic.
Big topic alert. Evolve or die. Well,
That sounds like a Bond movie.
I know.
Evolve or die. Another day in the world.
Okay, before we go into evolve or die, is our topic, our title. Tia Mowry, which most of you probably know, she's recently divorced from her husband, and she was talking about evolving and growing and whether she's happy within that relationship. If she's not happy, then obviously she wasn't that happy, so she filed for divorce, which is unfortunately very sad for her and her ex-husband. But she felt the need to divorce because she had to continue to evolve in her journey, in her life's journey. And regardless of how long she'd been married, she didn't look at it like that. She wanted to do all alone and just do her thing. So that's really sad that they have divorced. But that's the thing about marriages. You know, you need to grow and evolve and change. And it's normal to want that. Well, in such people's life, not in... Some people don't have that thing. They want to stay the same. They're quite static. They will just want to be themselves. Let me just be me. I want to be like this. But no, there has to be like an evolution, doesn't there?
It always feels weird for me. It feels weird for me when I think of Tia as Tia and Tamara.
Yeah.
Sister, you know. Go home, Roger. So seeing them having grown up issues and going through stuff, even though that we're like the same age, I still see them as like those hyperactive, you know, sisters on the show.
That's because they were around for a long time. The show went on for ages, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's why we grew up with them.
Yeah.
But now they're grown, Tone.
They're grown. Grown-ass women.
Just accept it.
Having marital challenges and issues and
grown.
divorces and stuff like that.
They've grown.
Yeah, I do have my issues with this. First and foremost, we wish Tia and Corey Harding, her ex-husband, all the best, and they've got children. I hear that it's all amicable, which is all that you want, so I wish them all the very best. And obviously, we're not here to spill the tea or talk about their relationship, but it did provoke a question because this is something that we've experienced, which is the whole concept of evolution. You know, we're not talking about survival of the fittest, even though marriage can feel like the survival. We're not talking about Charles Darwin and whether we came from apes or whatever, but we are supposed to grow and become a different version of ourselves, I believe, over time. The question is, can that be within the context of someone, a life partner, i.e. a wife or long-term partner, over a long period of time until the end of your life? Or is that something that you have to do separate from that relationship and just be you as an individual? I think that's the central question, not just of the topic of what we're talking about now, of the segment, but even of, I think, the age, because there's a lot more focus on I'm doing me, but what does doing me factor into a long-term relationship?
Yeah, because I think even something Tia Mowry mentions is that she felt the need to file for divorce also as well, because she's got to, it's that individualistic behavior. The thing where it's like me, and then she's got to look after herself.
Yeah.
She's got to put herself first. But then I'm
What's
thinking...
wrong with that? It's just me, myself, and
That's the wrong way. But
Why though?
Then at the same time...
Oh, I've just realised I'm still wearing my crown. No one told me.
I just realised as well.
I was still king.
That's the thing.
Long after the segment had
We're
finished.
having
Sorry,
such a good time on T&J. Totally forgot, didn't we?
Yeah, I felt the power and the authority all the way through.
But the thing is, something else she did say, T, was that she wasn't very happy. And so she had to do this for herself and her children to make this decision like that. But at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, can you not evolve and grow and become happy? Or also as well, something that jumped out to me just now was that you can't rely on the other person for happiness.
Yeah.
And that's the thing as well. You've got to be happy within yourself. So it's making me question, was she happy? Was she relying on him to make her happy instead of just being happy on herself? And then she's thinking, okay, I must leave this marriage in order to then be happy. Do you know what I mean? Because she even
all
said,
I really want is to be happy.
because something she said, T, was that their marriage was very successful. Don't get me wrong. Marriage was successful, but then the divorce was like the graduation.
Oh boy, I'm sorry.
So that's what she.
Where do I start?
Yeah.
You can miss me with that. This whole, it's my journey, and it was just a chapter of the journey ending that I need to get off the train and then start a new one.
Yeah.
Listen, if there's no shame, if something doesn't work and there's a major problem and you can't resolve it, you've tried. Fair enough. But let's not try and cloud it. It's all this self-help kind of, the ego language where it's like, oh, it was a success. It's just that I graduated.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it seemed, in my mind, and again, not probing into their specifics, but he didn't seem like he wanted to graduate.
No, he didn't.
So it's kind of like this individual thing. It can easily go into selfish space.
Yeah.
You promised someone, you made a vow that you'd be with them in sickness and health and go for everything. You made a sober adult decision that you were binding yourself to somebody through thick and thin for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So unless there was something major that changed, like infidelity, someone being violent, abusive, negative things. If you're saying, no, she's a great girl or he's a great guy, we're still good friends, we just feel it's time to uncouple. I'm like...
I think the room to be able to grow in your marriage, you have to give, it takes time, because you have to allow the other person to grow as an individual. If they've got things they're working through, you work through yours and they work for you. I think there seems to be this thing in society now where people just jump in shit from their marriage and able to grow away from the marriage when you can actually grow together. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, it doesn't make sense.
But what if you don't grow? Like, we had a patch in our marriage many years ago now where we could have easily parted ways. Do you know what I mean? Where I had a major life change. I discovered my biological family age 30 after being adopted and not knowing a single blood relative outside of my children until I was 30 years old. Yeah. So I was also pursuing my acting and I was making some progress. It just felt a lot happened in my life at that turning of 30. I
remember.
You remember?
Yeah, I remember like it was yesterday.
And you were in a different place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was in a totally different place. I remember that because the children were small. I was kind of like just a stay-at-home mom. And you were doing your thing out there, going off and, you're doing well, really well. And I was just had that sense of like, oh no, I'm not really, even though I'm a mum, and being a mum is a great thing. Yeah. But the children are going to grow up at some point, aren't they? They're not going to stay small like that forever. And I'm like, oh shoot, what have I done? I'm like, I was like 28 at the time. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I need to kind of grow because it felt like we're all starting to go in two separate ways. And that's a very, very, it felt like a very unhealthy place. Yeah. So I had to do something about it. Even though over the next few years, I started to become frustrated and everything. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do in my life? I have to do something, not just being here, being a mum, because that is a great thing. And a very honourable thing. And I feel very blessed. I got to become a mum with 3 kids, but it's like, there's more. I had more inside me to give.
And do you feel like that was me stopping you evolving?
Not at all. You stopping me evolving. It was myself stopping me from evolving because I didn't. It's almost like I was detached from the outside world or something. Like I was all in mumsy world. And then my kids, you as well. But then you off doing your thing. I was doing my thing at home and you come in late. But it's like I wasn't really I don't know. It just felt like I was detached from it,
Yeah.
from everything. And then I was just wasn't really, I was just frustrated. And I just felt like we're going two separate waves. You were on this page, I was on chapter 5, you chapter 6.
So what was that like being in a relationship? Because we can relate.
Yeah.
Where your partner was evolving and changing quite rapidly.
Yeah.
Some major life changes. And you felt stuck in second gear, to quote Friends.
Yeah. To be honest, I'll be totally transparent. I felt so trapped at that time because it was just like, he's doing his thing and I'm not really doing anything. I'm like, I'm getting older. I was not even quite 30. I was 28 at the time, 29. And I just felt like, oh my gosh, I just felt so conscious. I'm getting older and I hadn't done as much in my life as I probably thought I should have been because of fear and not being confident and all that.
Yeah.
But it's like, I didn't feel jealous of you, but I felt like, I sort of think, it wasn't jealousy as such. It was just like a thing where I just felt like, oh, why can't I have what he's got?
Yeah.
But then looking back at that now, I'm like, you were such a confident person and you put yourself out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas I didn't see opportunities like that. I just didn't have those connections. For me, it was just the connections I didn't have.
So what do you think? Because obviously with Tia Mowry talking about evolving, need to change.
Yeah.
So would you have been tempted to have left the marriage to say, you know what, I need to find me?
No, not at all.
And why not?
Because I thought, okay, I've been married for quite a few years and I made those vows and through thick and thin, we'll get through it. We have to. And I wanted to. I didn't think, oh, let me just up and leave my marriage because you're on that page and I need to get on a page or be on a page that's actually looks like I'm doing stuff or I'm going somewhere in my life. I'm like, we do this. We get through it together.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
All in.
Yeah, all in. Because I made those vows a long time ago. And I'm not just going to up and leave like that. I'm not a quitter on my marriage. Whereas in like people now, so sad because people just up and leave so quickly without giving it time.
I do get that because when I was evolving at that time, from my perspective, I was like, do I... Obviously for me as the man and having children and stuff like that, it was like, me leaving is very significant because that's breaking up the family unit.
Yeah.
And I would have had no reason to. But if I'm following the logic that Tia Mowry is talking about, time for me, it could have been a lot easier because I was thinking about LA. I was like, let's pursue this acting thing and let's just go off and, conquer Hollywood, take over Hollywood. That was something that I remember doing this acting course and being told you should just try and make it. So if it would have been convenient for me to have done my thing, gone and done my thing. But again, this whole idea of everything revolving around you, I think is a problem. Not if marriage and relationships are the foundation of civilization, then if people are inherently selfish in those relationships, that's going to have a knock-on effect to all of society.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not a surprise that we live in a quite a cold world at times where people just think me, myself, and I. The younger generation are intrinsically, it's about me and my individuality. So no one can think about doing something like now it's Remembrance Weekend, from the Second World War. Some of the soldiers were kids. They were teenagers who went to sacrifice themselves on the battlefield so we can all be free in the West. Yeah. I can't imagine someone putting down the Xbox, the PlayStation, their mobile phone, coming off of TikTok to go and fight to defend their nation, their family, their loved ones. No. It's more like, well, what's in it for me, innit? What do I get out of it? Yeah. And I think, and I'm not big on wars, but I'm just saying that sometimes you've got to be thinking of we, like we said earlier, rather than just me.
Yeah.
And I think while I'm going finding myself, what's happening to you and the kids?
Yeah. It's like people, I think now, adding on to what you're saying, is that people don't actually care about the other person deeply, how they feel.
At all.
Because they're just so busy caring about themselves and what they can get from a relationship where it's all about them. So imagine you were like that back then when you were younger and you chose to go to LA and then you left your family. And then I think it would be horrible, because then what about us? You know what I mean? We're in this together. We got married when we did in 2004, and it's like we're in this for life. We get married, we do through thick and thin, we get through it.
Yeah.
Because to give up on something just because it got hard, then that's quitting, isn't it?
I think so.
And that's why many relationships don't last these days. They're very short-lived. I'm not to even talk about marriage. I'm talking about relationships.
Just general relationships.
Because they don't last, because people up and leave when things get very hard. You just don't know. If you just
So when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
If you just stuck it out a bit longer, you don't know where it could have gone to.
Yeah. So I think the ideal, in terms of this evolution thing, we do believe in evolution in terms of relationships.
Absolutely.
And every marriage should evolve. But I think I'm speaking for us both, but maybe not. The best marriages is when you evolve together.
Absolutely.
You become something different together, not separate, but as one. And the best thing is that, and you should evolve and you should grow and change.
Yeah.
I'm not the same T that you married almost 20 years ago, and I know you're not the same J. So the best thing is, rather than swapping partners, grab your partner by the hand, with the rodeo where you just change partners, dancers in a line dance. The best thing is as you change and your partner changes, it's like you're married or in a relationship with a different person over the years.
Yeah.
There's been different versions of T and there's been different versions of J over the 23, 24 years we've been together.
Which is actually quite fun, to be married to the same person for those years, or be in a relationship with the same person. And then the person's evolving and changing. There's different versions. Yeah. That's fun, because, for some people, they might say, oh, isn't that what someone went to me once? Do you not get bored? Like being with that same person for all those years. I'm like, no, it's quite fun.
And I think as well, it's like superficial things, but not superficial, important. Changing your hair.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see videos that Jay changes her hair and it's not the same. Changing your outfits, changing your look, even those small things in terms of compounded together can give the freshness of, we're not exactly the same.
No.
And to deliberately say, what do we deliberately do different in our relationship and situation to not end up the same? So
yeah.
That's
a definitely
no need to go your separate ways. Lots of lessons.
Don't need to go your separate ways. Just stay in the relationship and grow and evolve, and you'll see it flourish. Seriously,
together,
not
grow like
separately.
a tree. One,
absolutely.
Not.
Yeah.
Sorry, I almost hit your head there.
Oh yeah, the concussion.
Call 911.
Oh dear.
Well, I think we're
far spent out, and today we've shared so much nuggets with you. I hope that you've learnt so much from us from being married for all these years. But I think my advice to you is just stick it out.
And again, any questions, we are in an app called QCast, but this week we want you to ask us questions and come up with questions. Ask yourself the questions based on the last story about evolution. Are you in a long-term relationship and you feel like something needs to change, and maybe it's not the relationship that needs to change, but that you evolve and change in that situation? In the previous situation, the previous conversation, were you a fan of Friends like we were, or did you feel it kind of put a very negative perspective of relationships? Even though we found it funny, it was sometimes a love-hate situation, because as we're Christians, some of the values in Friends and its relationship advice, hey, I wouldn't give my worst enemy some of the relation advice that they got in Friends. But also, when you think of the issue of these reality TV shows, speaking of bad advice, are you watching them? What do you think about them? Have you tried to glean any nuggets from Married at First Sight or In Love and Toxic? Let us know in the comments what you think, and you might get featured, as Jay said, in a future show.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? Wow. If you want to listen, watch more T&J Take Over the World, if you pop over to Spotify, Amazon, and so many more platforms, you can listen to the podcast. And we're also on YouTube and Facebook also. So check us out.
Join the Tovers. That is the takeovers. Tovers.
I'm glad you explained that.
Forget it. You have been watching T&J Take Over the World, one
episode at a time.
It's usually my line, but I'm feeling
I know,
generous.
I stole it this time, didn't I?
Being generous. Thank you for watching. Thank you for traveling T&J Airways. We hope you got back to your destination safely. Until next time.
Huh?